Let's get kicked off and dive into the conversation. So really excited for everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about preparing for the summertime rush and getting vacation ready. I also want to quickly thank all of our sponsors who joined us today at Justuno, Skubana, and Gorgias for putting on this great event. So quickly, some housekeeping to get out of the way before we get to the good stuff. I am your host, Jeremy Horowitz. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Daasity. I will be here to moderate our incredible group of panelists who will be able to share a lot of amazing insights. Some housekeeping, everybody will be muted to start off with. If you have any questions or Q&A, please submit them below. And then the session will be recorded, so we will also be sharing this out as well as recording it and cutting up content for everybody that we'll be promoting out over the next couple of weeks. So to get to the good stuff and why everybody came, our incredible panelists to really dive into all the great topics that we're going to talk about today around preparing for the summer rush. So let me introduce everybody. So Mike, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and what you all are working on at DripDrop?
Oh, you bet. Mike Demson, Senior Marketing Manager at DripDrop. We are a patented electrolyte powder, so summer's a good time for us.
Yeah, I can imagine. Going to be a lot of hot, sweaty people out there. Hayden, do you want to just give us a quick background on yourself and HydroJug?
Yeah, for sure. So Hayden Wadsworth, I'm the CEO and co-founder at HydroJug. We have a lot of products in development, but kind of under the same thing with Mike, we sell half-gallon water bottles to help people stay hydrated. So summers are good months for us as well.
Awesome. We're going to be talking a lot about hydration today then. Stephanie, can you give us a quick background on yourself and Beachbunny?
Yeah, so I've been with Beachbunny for 9 years now, and our core is bikinis. So you can imagine summertime is definitely our peak. We ramp up in spring, and starting this weekend, Memorial Day, is when we take off through Labor Day.
Very cool. And then Daniel, bring us home with yourself, about quick background on yourself and TKEES.
Yeah, I'm Dan, and I'm Chief Digital Officer at TKEES. Been here for about 4 years, and TKEES is an apparel and footwear company, footwear first, and our core product is the flip-flop. So naturally, summer is our Christmas, and we have a great time during the summer months.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive right into it. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so we can see everyone's beautiful face. So to kick right off, Hayden, I'm going to put you on the spot first. How do you prepare for summer marketing, and how do you think about that versus the major spikes that you see throughout the year?
Yeah, so kind of like you mentioned, we definitely have spikes in the holiday time and around January, just how fitness goals are oriented. We kind of take a similar approach as like Amazon with like their Prime Day. They kind of made an event just like right in the middle of summer to spike sales. And we try to do as many marketing events, whether it's like just a straight sales event, new product releases, special edition product, things like that, to kind of increase hype and to stimulate the sales during these summer months, because typically for us, they are good months and we do have growth, but they're not our busiest when it's compared to like Black Friday and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And it's the same reason why Amazon did Prime Day too. So Stephanie, same question to you. Like, how are you all thinking about marketing and really driving a big spike over the summer?
Yeah, so for us, we begin dropping our spring line in January for those who are, heading down for spring break, starting in February from the Eastern Seaboard. And then from there, we peak up. So all of our marketing, we have events from spring break to getting ready for Memorial Day. Actually, this weekend, we're launching using TikTok Girls to launch what are you going to wear for Memorial Day? What does that outfit look like? All of our photo shoots, campaigns, everything that's around best friends and travel, that feel. And we then will add in any third party. So in the past, we've carried TKEES, so anything like that, to give her that full package of what she needs for her summer essentials.
That's awesome. Daniel, how are you all thinking about getting a nice marketing spike this summer?
That's awesome, Stephanie. Thanks for that, by the way. So we start thinking about summer in January, actually. In fact, summer is always on our minds. And So we start with forecasting for future months and sales on a month-by-month basis. We plan out our production, and really, from a marketing perspective, we have a campaign called Wherever You Go. So that's specific to travel and wherever your TKEES takes you. So we plan all of our campaigns, marketing campaigns, based on new product introductions that are going to be coming out during the summer months, and really front-loading a lot of our production and inventory to ensure that we have just-in-time delivery, and we have expedited shipping for customers when the time comes for them to pull the trigger and make a purchase.
Very cool. Yeah, preparing is always great. Mike, how are you all thinking about the summer rush and marketing at DripDrop?
It's a really good time to be at DripDrop. We have a campaign called Beat the Heat. So if you think about it, it's really geared towards what causes people to get dehydrated, and part of the reason why there's such an elevated need for DripDrop and electrolyte powders during the summer. It's we really like to make sure that the right message is being tailored to the right audience, and we roll out our best promotions, buy one get one 50% off throughout our entire new product catalog, which is actually including 21 new flavors this summer. So there's a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so now we talked about creating all that demand. How are we actually going to fulfill it? So how are you all thinking about handling these huge spikes? So Daniel, I'm going to throw this one to you first.
Yeah, for sure. So handling the spike increase in sales always means you got to staff up. We got to make sure that we're staffing up across departments, whether it be CS, whether it be with our 3PL partners, ensuring that they have sufficient staffing across the full spectrum, from receiving, fulfillment, and also refund processing. So ensuring that we've got appropriate assets from a photo shoot perspective, from marketing perspective, from ensuring that we have sufficient amount of stock and inventory in place, and most importantly, people and tech. So across all of these different areas, we go through systematically one by one, and make sure that every single one of those checkboxes are marked off. So that's really the most important part, is ensuring that every single part of this chain, from forecasting and anticipating those sales and having the right support for marketing, are all covered.
Nice. Yeah, infrastructure is key. Stephanie, how are you all thinking about accommodating for the huge spike that you're probably already in the middle of / going to see over the rest of the summer?
Yeah, so I'll echo what Daniel said. First, we definitely ramp up with customer service. So whether it's people, and then we also partner with Chat Desk, so they're able to handle any weekend messages that we get for us, so that we're always responding to the customer during the height of the season. Our 3PL ramps up. She always wants something like tomorrow, because we can't ruin her Memorial Day weekend or her wedding. So they're always ramping up as well. And then also, this is when we begin to run a lot of A/B testing, knowing that we have more people on our site and a lot of new customers. We can start testing to then roll out those best practices through Q3 and Q4, when it's a little bit slower for us, to help keep our sales up.
Very cool. Mike, how are you all going to handle the rush that you're about to see over at DripDrop?
I'll just echo everything that everyone else has already said. We're hiring like crazy. We've made hires on our e-commerce team, on our customer service team. We're in the process of, fully rolling out this brand new website, did a supply chain update to improve the margins on our product. And then, we really think about the digital experience as something that's really important. So with all of our emails, we're fully integrating with our analytics partners, Daasity, our conversion rate optimization partners at Justuno, and really making sure that we're putting our best foot forward during the best time of the year for us.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of opportunities to capture a lot of new info about customers. So Hayden, bring us home for how is HydroJug scaling up to accommodate for the sales you're all about to see?
Yep, kind of similar theme here. We have to ramp up across all teams. We have a lot of, as we get into these busy seasons, we will increase the amount of cross-functional syncs that we have between directors. so everyone's on the same page. So we know that everyone from customer support and everyone to like the fulfillment specialists that we have are all on the same page on how stuff is going to work and what to be aware of.
Very cool. Yeah, communication is going to be key. Just there's so many going on, and people probably also on the team want to go on vacation as well. So a lot of things to coordinate there. So I know we talked about a lot about how we really optimize these events. What conversion metrics are you all looking at or are looking to optimize during this period? So Mike, why don't we start with you on this topic?
You bet. So within the scope of conversion rate optimization, we're looking both on-site and through very precise and tailored messages across email and SMS. Those are two enormous channels. The way that we approach it is we basically segment our user base around recency, frequency, and monetary value. The retention LTV dashboard on Daasity is a great tool for helping us think about that. And we're testing things constantly. We're sort of socializing what we're working on to get buy-in across the entire organization. And one example is we have our engage list that we're of course doing remarketing and retargeting towards, but we also have our re-engagement segment that we're really tailoring subject lines, call to actions, and actually creating an entirely new customer experience for that group that's really guided towards meeting them where they are. So a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, with so many promotions, there's a lot of great opportunities to engage a lot of different segments. So Stephanie, what conversion metrics are you all really focusing on, and where do you see the big wins coming this year?
This year, it's actually been our AOV. So in the past, we have seen that she's been a little bit more promotional. And this year, we are not up against price resistance, which is something that is quite baffling to us. So knowing that, we'd be doing a promotion with Memorial Day for swim, even on full price. This year, we are not. She can get her sale items out of our sale bin, but yeah, so it's AOV. Exit, we're doing a lot of exit offers on A/B testing there, browse abandonment. What pages are she leaving, and like why is she leaving that page? What can we do, and what pages does she spend more time on? And then the pages that aren't working, trying to update them to the pages that are. And then, like I said, with Justuno, testing different banners, cart abandonments, and exit offers.
Very cool. Also exciting. Hopefully, early sign that the people are back into spending a lot on travel in summer. And
they are.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So Daniel, what are you all looking at? What are you really focusing on from a conversion metric perspective?
Yeah, for sure. So summer tends to be our the cheapest time to really acquire customers, and so we look at our CPAs as our critical piece in conversion mechanisms. Understanding what UPTs are for each one of those transactions, and looking at overall ROAS, taking all of those and then comparing it against our forecasts and ensuring that actuals and forecasts are in fact aligned or we're exceeding our forecast. So those are really great. And generally speaking, 2021 has been a banner year, and over 20, which was successful all on its own. So it's been it's been a very, very exciting time to be at TKEES.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Also, when you start beating out the forecast, one quick question for you, just for everyone who isn't familiar, what does UPT stand for?
Units per transaction.
Got it. Okay, so sort of similar to the AOV mark, like how many units are we rolling out in every order to keep things moving along?
Yeah. So very similar metrics.
Cool. All right, Hayden, I'm gonna toss it to you. What are you all looking at? What conversion metrics are you really focusing on optimizing?
Yeah, we look at average order value, returning customer rate, and your straight conversion rate, and how those change with our different summer promotions. So
cool. Yeah, a lot of good things a lot of different opportunities to optimize there. So since we're already talking about metrics, what are the best tools to leverage your data? And then also, how are you leveraging that data? So Hayden, gonna pass it back to you real quick.
Yeah, so we actually have, it seems like that data is like every software tries to do data, like Shopify, Klaviyo. to name a few. And we use a data consolidator. And then from there, we use that data and we have like internal models that we build out. So that data is pulled from the data consolidator, and then we can customize it and tweak it to fit in our models and make predictions and leverage it.
Very cool. Stephanie, how are you all leveraging data?
I'll echo what Hayden said. So we have an internal model, but we'll pull things from Klaviyo. We'll pull Klaviyo's reports, attentives reports for SMS, use Google Analytics, and then we pull it all together, aggregate it, and then we're able to see what's working, what's not, and go from there.
Very cool. Mike, I feel like you kind of already addressed this, but how are you all leveraging data, and is there any cool, unique ways that you are doing it?
You bet. I'll take it from sort of a different perspective. We have a fairly well-oiled machine when it comes to retention. But for us, one of the things that we want to build out and to really succeed at is building a very large national brand. One of the ways that we're approaching that is partnering with retail organizations as well as e-commerce. So we're looking at it from a basically channel agnostic perspective. If customers are going to Amazon, or if they're coming back and repurchasing on DripDrop, we're paying very close attention to both cost per order, cost per acquisition, and of course, blended ROAS to really help us to understand which channels are the most efficient, and then essentially scaling those channels and approaching it from that perspective.
Very cool. Okay. So really think about everything holistically across the entire business. That's pretty cool. So Daniel, why don't you break down how you all are leveraging data over at TKEES?
Yeah, data is a critical part of this equation for sure, and something that we've been focusing on looking at it holistically. So we, much like what Mike alluded to just a minute ago, we look at the business from all angles, from all channels, from all sources, and we aggregate everything within our own Google BigQuery, and then we pull in data from understanding what the return rates look like and what the customer behavior, kind of how it boils down. We pull in all of our marketing stack data into it as well, and then we kind of have a holistic picture of what is the customer doing from a full cycle perspective, from being introduced to the brand in the first place, coming on the website, how they're converting, what are they buying, and then ultimately what does their post-purchase experience look like, so that we can continue to drive that engagement and drive those retention metrics. So that's kind of the way we do it, and then we start digging. We have dashboards that are built out for each one of those segments of the business, so that we can dig deeper and understand, is returns processing a bottleneck for us, or what area of the business can really be optimized in order to really improve.
Yeah, it's great to have that like 10,000 foot view and in the trenches view to really make those greater optimizations. So since we're already talking about tech stack, I'd love to know, like, what is everybody's top tech stack recommendations, favorite tools that they've been using for retention and marketing recently? So Daniel, I'm going to pass it back to you for this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, probably the best ones are, I would go back to Klaviyo, and Klaviyo is a great tool to use for retention and marketing, and understanding, what's your customer doing from a email marketing perspective, and then how are you engaging with those users and so on. And then really the second one that I would really go to, that's really exploding right now and booming, and less so, I think it's still underutilized, specifically given how recent it is, but SMS marketing is really a great retention tool. So a lot of people that are not necessarily engaged with email will respond better through SMS marketing. So being able to really nurture and grow that list from an SMS perspective is really, really helpful. So that's those two tools are really great in being able to really drive that retention.
Very cool. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of brands manage those together. So Hayden, how about for you? What are you all seeing in the retention marketing space and tech stack wise that's been really helpful for you all?
We use kind of all the typical softwares like the Klaviyo and PostScript. One of the biggest ones I think is the support software though. We use Gorgias, and we use all their features as far as like the online chat, things like that, to make sure that we are creating the best customer experience we can, especially when our customers are reaching out to us with issues. So we really focus a lot on the support piece and customer experience piece to retain customers.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like people always bucket that separately, but really you got to look at that holistically of how does every interaction keep people coming back. So Mike, you want to walk us through what are your favorite tech stack in the retention marketing space?
I'll just give another shout out to Klaviyo and PostScript. They're phenomenal. One thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is we've tested a few different ways to recover abandoned carts. We came across a tool by the name of Tone. It's an AI, essentially human-guided automation to really provide real-time customer service, which we've seen a phenomenal return. Of course, beyond that, Daasity's lifetime value and recency frequency monetary dashboard has been phenomenal in helping us to refine the timing of our post-purchase email campaigns, refining which audience is getting which offer we're testing, both dollar off and % off to different audiences based on past purchases, and then actually personalizing messages on PostScript. We've got people customers in all 4 time zones. With DripDrop, we like to approach it from a very timely and relevant message. So we're actually doing local send times in PostScript, which isn't something I've seen a ton of brands do. But if you're thinking about it and want to tailor a message for someone right at 11 a.m. or 2 o'clock, we're able to do that pretty precisely through PostScript, and results are, beyond something that I could have planned for or hoped for, and the growth is phenomenal. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. The SMS support seems to be taking off as well. I've been hearing a lot about that recently, like separated from the more of marketing tools. So that's pretty cool. So Stephanie, any other retention marketing technologies that you've been a really big fan of?
So SMS is one that we've really focused on this year, and we've increased the journey. So we've added a journey for everything on SMS, and just recently we will be testing the conversational with our customer service team. So it'll be a conversation straight from their phone to customer service versus having to be, on the web and doing a chat that way. That's coming up. With Gorgias, like I said, we have connected with chat desks, so they're always on to work with those customers. Returnly has been a big one for us. We've added at the back end when they're going in to do an exchange, we actually are using that AI for it to pull up what has she shopped in the past and what would she like. So it'll automatically build instead of her having to go onto the site to try and find what she may want. And then back in stock, we use this all the time, including for our forecasting. So just recently we pulled our back in stock report and 20 items came up. We called our factory and they're doing a quick turnaround. And what that happens is each 20 item may have anywhere between 10 and 50 requests for it to come back in stock on that one specific SKU. And that day, sales, the minute we send that email out, you'll see they'll all go and purchase it because they've been waiting. And then we've also been working on our loyalty program. So we launched it in the fall before COVID, and we work with the Opto Swell, and we're working on upgrading that this year.
Very cool. Yeah, those back in stocks are a real quick win once like the logistics side is figured out from a marketing perspective. So those are definitely some nice
and the last
wins.
thing that's new for us, we're partnering with Shopping Gives. So doing the charity at the checkout. So that'll be something new in the next 30 to 45 days for us too, just to make it more personal and hopefully retain our customers who are looking for just it to be more than just I'm buying a bikini or shoes or sunscreen.
That's very cool. Yeah, they've been popping up a lot as well. So interesting to see how successful that is for you all. So talking about build, so it seems like email and SMS is a big player in this, and talking about really nurturing that list. But I want to dive into how are you all thinking about building that list, and what's your current pop-up strategy, and how are you thinking about that for the summer versus more of the typical winter and Q4 rush? So Stephanie, I know you briefly talked about it before, but do you want to just dive into more of how you all are thinking about leveraging pop-ups on the site?
So recently we just moved, our current pop-up is all through our SMS. So it captures the email and text message, and they get a 10% off for signing up. that is being included in all of our marketing from Klaviyo to Instagram, Facebook, and that is helping build. It'll also be in the evergreen on Facebook and Instagram in the sponsored ads. And then with Justuno, like I said, we are using the banner to make it more personalized for people to be like, oh, I'm here, buy this now. You can get a gift card, new product releases, all of that.
That's awesome. Mike, how are you all thinking about your on-site pop-up strategy?
It's all about growth. Justuno has been a really great partner for us. We're able to test and identify new versus returning customers. So we're segmenting those and then understanding, who are the people we already have emails for that we really want to get onto the SMS list, and then offering the appropriate incentive to the audience that is showing up. And then, of course, making sure that it's a good experience, both on email and SMS, if people are opting in. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, segmentation seems to be a pretty strong theme there. So I like the strategy. Hayden, how are you all thinking about it? Is there any changes that you do versus a typical like BFCM or type other part of the year that you're thinking about testing out this year?
For the most part, it stays about the same throughout the summer with our pop-up strategy. There are small like A/B tests that we'll run if it's on specific pages. So if a customer lands on the homepage and versus like a product page, they might experience like a different pop-up if it is like their first time visit.
Very cool. Yeah. So different stages of the journey, they get different messaging and experiences. Awesome. So Daniel, how are you all thinking about pop-ups and your strategy going into this big sales period?
It's similar to what Hayden's saying, but actually it's a bit different. So in the world of iOS 14 and privacy restrictions and marketing, pop-ups and lead gen have become a very interesting way to acquire users and really understand how well your marketing is performing. So the way we're utilizing pop-ups now is, or will be rather, it's just in the planning stages, is customizing the pop-up based on the source of where the customer is coming from. So if a customer is coming from a TikTok marketing channel, and then they would get a different pop-up that would be calling out the fact that perhaps a piece that they ended up coming from TikTok specifically, and similarly Instagram or Google. And so being able to customize the pop-up messaging and to the channel that the user is coming from, and optimizing that lead generation, optimizing that conversion is something that we're looking closely at and implementing for the summer.
Very cool. Sounds like a lot of personalization in the mix, and sounds like Stephanie and Mike might be some good references to talk about that strategy with. And so I think that leads into my next question of like, how are you thinking about integrating more personalization into the customer journey overall? I know that's really been a big topic, especially recently, but probably over the past couple of years also. So Mike, how are you thinking about how we're just making every stage of the process more personalized for customers?
You bet. So we like to think about the customer journey holistically. So basically, we're treating new customers very differently than we're treating returning customers. The way that shows up on site is through different A/B tests and conversion rate optimizations that we do with Justuno. So sort of those two distinct groups. One example is on the product description page. Making it easier for returning visitors to basically check out and to basically reduce the friction there. And part of that is, on-site conversion, and that's something we've seen phenomenal results with.
Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to just do a ton of testing to figure out what the right timing is. So Stephanie, same question to you. Like, how are you thinking about personalizing that experience for your core customer more?
So as I mentioned before, SMS has been a big push for us this year. So right now we're doing it all through through Attentive, who we use for SMS. So if she's on the site, bringing her back if she leaves too quickly, or if she's abandoning her cart, which is so on email, that's, it happens to all of us on email, but it feels more urgent when it's on text because it's happening right now. You may not always be checking your email, but you get an alert on text. And then from the loyalty side, every time she comes in, if she's a return customer, she logs in to her page and everything that she's purchased before is there, all of her information, how many points she has, and how she wants to use her points or get more points. So she feels like it's more of her shopping experience than it is just coming to the site.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, same with like the Justuno pop-ups, we're working on those versus like returning or new customer as well.
Nice. Yeah. So every part of the experience is just a little bit different. So it always feels like they're coming back to have something new. So Daniel, how are you all thinking about increasing personalization in the customer journey for everyone over at TKEES?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to what the group has already covered. A lot of banner changes, a lot of pop-up changes that I alluded to earlier. We do offer some personalization and customization of the actual shoe itself. So you're able to monogram your product right there on the website. So you get a little bit more customized item. But from an experience standpoint, because we don't use accounts on TKEES.com, so everybody is quote unquote guest checkout customer, personalization becomes a little bit more difficult, and so we're customizing it using things like pop-ups and banners. So
very cool. Hayden, how are you all thinking about personalization over at HydroJug?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of like automated things that you can do to make like emails and text messages feel super personalized. We'll do things like landing pages to make a more personalized experience based on where the customer is coming from. But this also will leak into like our product strategy as well, where with certain releases, we will send like personalized notes from different people in the office to our customers. Our support team, we have processes in place where if they can pick up something on the from the customer, from like the note they wrote in, they could do something special for that customer. So we'll do things like that to make sure that it doesn't seem like we're just automating these personalized experiences, and we still are like there's people behind the screen, and the company's a lot more than just like a Instagram page or a website.
Yeah, it's a great point. Personalization can also come from the brand side, not just the experience for the customer. So that's very cool tactic as well. So in this kind of same vein, what are some of your biggest tips to increase customer satisfaction, retention, and loyalty in general? So Daniel, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first.
I like the hot seat. I actually didn't cover one specific area that we launched mid COVID crisis, and we launched a TKEES internal concierge service that highlights and identifies individuals that are likely to be high LTV customers for us, that may have already transacted with us significantly or are likely to transact in the future. So if the data models are telling us that, hey, this individual is likely to be a high converting user for us, we have dedicated members on the CS team that are responsible for the concierge service, and they will reach out individually and provide almost like styling tips and advice on a one-on-one basis to each of those individuals. So they're able to text in, they're able to email in, or they're able to even call in and speak with the individual if they wanted to. So from that perspective, it creates a very cohesive and engaging experience for the customer. And what we're seeing is really great, solid results and success out of it.
Yeah, it's a great idea to bring that like personal shopping experience from in-store retail online, and also have the right LTV to make it economically work for the company. So Mike, what are you all thinking about from a customer satisfaction and retention perspective?
You bet. So we like to leverage every data source that we have available to us. On the retention side, one of the best performing and most efficient paid media campaigns that we have is leveraging the expected date of next order with Klaviyo, really highlighting the promotion that we're doing to this particular segment. And we see phenomenal return on ad spend there. Even as we look at different points of the customer journey and the customer funnel, post-purchase is actually one that we focused on quite a bit, building the brand, nurturing the audience and getting people excited for the product. One of the ways we do that is with a partner called Dockable for the referral program. We have different campaigns for different audiences, both on subscription and one-time customers. So we're testing and optimizing everything.
Very cool. And Stephanie, how are you all thinking about ways to just continue customer lifetime value, retention, satisfaction?
So for us, she tends to shop with us based on her best suit. So a lot of times we'll put out a poll, what suit are you looking for? Which one do you want to see again? And although we're a really large brand, we take what they say very seriously. We do drops every month almost, except for November, Black Friday. We can't compete with that in a new drop. And at that time, there will be different release times. So our VIPs, which is our high intent to purchase possibly this item, they'll get the email first. They're made to be felt very special. You know, you're the first to hear about this. You have a couple hours to shop before. And they've actually started to learn that in the next 2 hours, they know this email is going to go out to everyone. So it causes them to come back, and it's been creating a demand that it will be out of stock in the next week if they don't purchase now. So they tend to come back and continually purchase that item. I feel like one of the dinosaurs where our phone lines are still open. So they will email us and we'll say, just call us and we'll walk you through the process. And that we have seen, they'll end up purchasing more online after that. And they always call and talk to us. And then we have 8 stores. So we're able to say, you know, if where are you located, we can always send you to our store for an in-person fitting there as well.
Yeah, it's a great utilization. I feel like phone support is now a pretty unique offering that a lot of other brands don't have. So it's definitely a good way to set yourself apart. So Hayden, how are you all thinking about, what are some unique ways that you're thinking about just making customers happier, just extending their retention with HydroJug?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff has been mentioned, but we'll do like on release days, we'll do like an IG live showing the product, showing it from different angles, stuff like that. I think the video experience really helps people decide. And then we'll also do live chat during those times, so people have that like one-on-one experience as well. And then just your typical stuff between email and like the loyalty program, making sure you're following up and segmenting and keeping like the VIPs happy, kind of like Stephanie mentioned.
Very cool. Yeah, Instagram Lives, I feel like some people still leverage them. It feels like they were kind of a really big deal a couple of years ago. So it's interesting to see how brands are still getting the most out of them, because live shopping seems to be really taking off, especially in more of like Eastern cultures. So it's interesting to see if that will translate over here in the next couple of years. So I feel like we're talking about a lot about the growth side of it. Now let's talk about the inventory side. How's everybody managing the inventory to make sure that we're not selling out too quickly or losing any just really valuable opportunities? So Stephanie, I know that you mentioned that like keeping inventory in stock is a really big deal and back in stock. So how do you all manage that process?
Well, ahead of time, we always identify bestsellers. And one thing, I mean, it's 101 in inventory, you never let those sell out. So we use a lot of Better Reports is one of the apps that we use on Shopify to determine, you know, the sellout date of an item, and all of the A's are identified, and those, once they hit a specific date, generally about 100 days out, we'll begin to reorder them with our factories. We've been with our factories for many years, and so they're able to do quick turn times for us. They, I would say, always save capacity at the height of the season. And other than that, it's more just saying, you know, buy it now, otherwise it will sell out. And we'll get in a new color. So if that color sells out, we have a new color coming in behind it. That's why we've learned with e-commerce, we've had to have a drop every month of something new. Whereas the old swimwear adage was you can drop in January for spring break and drop in March for summer and maybe do something in May. But over the past few years, to keep her coming back and keep the site fresh, we have had to do a drop every month. And then that's been allowing us, if something sells out, there's always something coming behind it.
Yeah, that's a pretty great model of if something does sell out, there's always something coming next. So how do you manage the balance of like constantly loading new inventory versus really like trying to manage those best sellers to keep them in stock for as long as possible?
So best sellers we look at as a core business. It's a year round. It may be in core colors, whether it's black, white, red, those are always carried. And then from there, it's how we market it, I would say, to the consumer. You know, this sold out last time, you better buy it now. And then we always have new coming. And then I would say probably Black Friday, we have to get rid of the residuals or the wrong sizes that are left over. And then we use that data to then create new size breaks, because I would say the size breaks for us have been changing over the past couple of years. So that's the biggest one on the inventory side that we constantly have to learn from. But other than that, yeah, I would say as long as we have our core product in year round, then we're always able to remarket that and keep her coming back.
Yeah, definitely. So Daniel, how are you all thinking about the inventory balance over at TKEES?
Great question. Actually, one of the most critical questions for us, Laura. I alluded to forecasting being a critical part of this this whole equation. And Stephanie, to your point about back in stocks, we've done a bunch of analysis on our customer segmentation and back in stocks and demand and things like that. What we found, generally speaking, is that intent is almost very, very high if you're able to get back at the customer who signed up within 7 days of back in stock notification. And the longer the time frame, the more degradation you see in conversion rates between when the person signs up to when you're sending them that back in stock notification. So we do everything we can to ensure that the replenishment cycles are very, very close, and we're able to feed into that demand that is continuously being generated. So for that, Skubana is actually one of the better tools that we utilize in understanding where's the sales velocity for various different SKUs, understanding what the run out cycle is going to look like for based on sales patterns for 30, 45, 60, and 90 days out, and going backwards and forwards. And so understanding the timing and seasonality factors that are affecting our business, and putting it all together and ensuring that once that's all in, our factories get the POs ahead of time and understand what that the production timelines look like in logistics and so on to get the goods over from overseas to our fulfillment centers. So that's kind of the way we're looking at replenishing inventory on a regular basis. The other part of it is, and we're looking at implementing this shortly, is sending out an automated drip sequence. So we're able to connect our back in stock with Klaviyo. And so as soon as someone signs up to our back in stock notifications, we would send them a specialized email saying, hey, thanks for signing up for wanting to purchase our gem and sandals in black in size 7. Are you interested in pre-ordering this product now, so that you're first in line to when this product does come in back in stock on such and such date? What that does is it automatically shortens that cycle to purchase, gets the person excited and pulls the trigger, and then you already have a pre-sold item in advance of actually getting it replenished.
That's super interesting. I was actually going to ask, how are you replenishing items within 7 days? But I'm guessing that you're more of sending that back in stock drip to get someone to pre-buy in 7 days and not actually fulfilling the order in that short of a time frame, right?
Right. As long as you're super clear with the customer, advising them that they're pre-ordering this item, they're not buying this right now. So they've expressed interest in it. It's sold out right now, but if they wish to pre-order it, it's another option that's available to them.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then is there a drip if they do pre-order it of like, hey, your order is coming in X number of days before they get their shipping confirmation?
Yeah. We make sure to engage with the customer on a regular basis to ensure that at every step of the journey, that if they know their product is coming, they know that we're on top of it, and that it's not forgotten somewhere in the chain that they need to follow up with CS.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to leverage data from a couple of different places to make that happen.
Yeah, so like I said, we look at everything very, very cohesively to try to gauge and understand where's the customer coming from and where's the demand coming from, so that we're able to fill that demand in a way that is not going to leave us with an excessive amount of inventory come Black Friday to try to offload it. We don't discount as a policy, so discounting and trying to offload products becomes a challenge, and so we're trying to mitigate that by having the right product mix all the time whenever we're on a website.
Yeah, definitely, which is always a very interesting challenge to fulfill.
Yeah, for sure.
Hayden, how are you all tackling the demand problem?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of model of e-commerce is just crazy in general. We kind of follow a similar model as Stephanie, having monthly drops. And I mean, last year with COVID and everything, and the increase of demand and decrease in supply really made things difficult. And the biggest thing for us is having systems in place where we can collect reliable data, which last year made that really difficult. And then using like our ERP to be able to determine what we need to order, when we need to order, and things like that. We also are working on internal models that we can leverage AI to be able to forecast better and understand which SKUs, have a better idea of which SKUs are going to sell and how much. But yeah, it's mostly data driven.
Very cool. Yeah, the predictive modeling, I think, a lot of brands seem to be starting to invest in that and try to just map out, because it is, I mean, especially the past 18 months, it's been such a big variability. So Mike, why don't you, what are you all planning for DripDrop for the rush that you're going to see over the next couple months?
You bet. So DripDrop is a pretty simple product when you actually think about it. It's salt and sugar patented into a ratio that essentially allows you to absorb these electrolytes faster. And the way that we think about it is within where customers are in their journey. We're essentially building automations, we're building systems and processes, and giving people a reason to come back. So with launching 21 new flavors this year, it's a reason for people to be interested in the product, to try something new, and it's an expandable consumption good. So it's a good time.
Yeah, super exciting. Okay, so before we get to Q&A from the audience, one final question I always like to ask all of our panelists is kind of what's your greatest lesson, or what's your greatest, biggest impact that you would want to share for everybody who's thinking about this? So Mike, I'm going to pass it right back to you. What's the one nugget of wisdom you got for us?
You bet. For us, the way that we think about it is lifetime value matters. Customer acquisition cost matters, and just thinking about the customer journey throughout the entire life cycle. We're building a ton of automations. One that I'm super excited about is the replenishment reminder. It's a simple product, it's straightforward. People use it pretty often. And it's one of those things that, building out a paid media strategy that works in tandem with a retention strategy, and just making sure that all of the areas of e-commerce are working in conjunction. So, yeah.
Very cool. Hayden, what's your one piece of wisdom for everybody?
I think one of the biggest things is infrastructure, and how you build things in the beginning, and making sure you have that kind of that long-term point of view, because things that maybe matter, if we're just focusing on what matters this summer, will definitely be behind next summer. So building in the right infrastructure, marketing plans, where kind of e-commerce is going, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Planning ahead is always the hardest thing to do, but the most valuable at the end of the day. Stephanie, what's your grand piece of wisdom for everybody?
Yeah, so this year with the increase in traffic and new customers, and then obviously our returning customers, we have been increasing our A/B testing. So just with the amount of traffic we have on the site, this is the time to figure out what's working and what's not. In the past, we've always been a little fearful, because we've said this has always worked in the past. We're going to continue to do it. And we would A/B test here and there. But this year, definitely with the increase in traffic, A/B testing has been our big takeaway.
Awesome. Yeah, it's an incredible way to get a ton of data. So Daniel, bring us home. What's the one grand wisdom to wrap us up?
Yeah, I would say any company that's scaling should always be looking at your bottlenecks within the chain. So understand where your potential cracks are going to appear as you continue to scale, especially when you scale aggressively, whether it's production, whether it's logistics, or whether it's internal processes or CS. The moment you're able to kind of identify those and patch those or resolve those bottlenecks, you're going to be properly set up for success. And if you're not, what you're going to quickly find is that you're going to become a victim of your own success, and it's going to be a very difficult situation to kind of unravel afterwards, after the fact. So whatever, if you can get ahead of it, great. And I would say that's probably the best advice I can give is when you're planning for growth, make sure to identify those bottlenecks ahead of time.
Awesome. Yeah. So, infrastructure planning team seems to be a pretty strong theme here that I hope everybody takes away. So I want to open up for Q&A for everybody who's in the audience to ask any questions of the panelists. I know I have a couple, but definitely want to open up for everybody. So the first question that I have here is, will there be a list of recommended apps? Yes, there will. My second question actually for the panelists, because it seems like apps are a super popular topic right now. Are there any other apps that we haven't covered yet that you're testing out or you just rolled out that you're really excited about?
I'll take this one. There's Emotive. So everyone, we've used Tone, by the way, Mike. I'd be curious to hear what your opinion is of Tone, but in SMS and dabbled in a few different platforms, but right now we're with Emotive and looking at various different flows and structures that we're able to really optimize for SMS communication. So that's probably our one of the areas that's most interesting. And the second part of it is in the world of iOS 14 and privacy restrictions, marketing becomes very it becomes more of an art than a science. And so taking that science piece away, that data piece out of the equation becomes for someone who's data driven like myself, becomes painful. So being able to identify ways to get around it and being able to see data in a different from a different lens is really critical. So I would say, and apps that are able to provide you with different types of pop-ups methodologies or tracking methodologies in a way that almost gets around the whole iOS 14 privacy restriction and gives you some more visibility. I think it's going to be critical to success in the future.
Definitely. For anyone who isn't familiar exactly where Emotive and Tone fit in the tech stack, can you just quickly explain like what those services do?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I say the names because I'm so familiar, and I forgot to explain what they are. So Emotive is a competitor to Tone and is an SMS marketing platform. Tone's secret sauce, as Mike alluded to, is human responses. So they have a team that is able to respond to those incoming SMSs and becomes an extension of your CS team effectively to answer messages in a way that is efficient. Emotive does that, except that they do it in a different way, and they have a bit of a different tech stack. So that's strictly SMS. And pop-ups are. Was there something else that I mentioned that needed to be explained?
And it's not like mostly the SMS and then pop-ups were the two major pieces.
Yeah. So from a pop-up perspective, you can go to Justuno or various other providers that will give you various different capabilities for pop-ups, and then customize those for your own use. Very
cool. Mike, it seemed like you had a response plan there.
You bet. So there's two. One of them I briefly touched on, Talkable for referral. We've tested quite a few different offers there. Just kind of backing out, when someone tells you about a product, it's much quicker to build trust. And then sort of incentivizing it both on the referee and the referrer side. So really seeing phenomenal growth on Talkable with new customers being acquired. The other is a little bit, I don't want to say less glamorous, but less talked about, and that's direct mail. One of the ways that we're building that into our post-purchase is there's basically this magic window for DripDrop. Typically people are ordering on their first order. What we've seen is people are ordering about a 30-day supply. So we actually jump ahead of email and SMS and can actually send a post-purchase offer through direct mail with a provider by the name of Inkit. They basically integrate directly with our Shopify, and we can automate everything. Give them a really good reason to believe, and that's been phenomenal in helping to just bolster our repeat purchase rate and building not only average order value but lifetime value. So
very
a lot
cool.
of exciting stuff.
Sounds like another old school channel brought into a very new school use case. So that's really exciting. So Stephanie, I know you mentioned A/B testing earlier. Is there a specific tool that you all are using that you're a big fan of?
We're just using, we're using actually quite a few. So Justuno, we're A/B testing all of the pop-ups, and whether it can go down to, is she looking you in the eyes or is she looking away? Which one works? So that kind of testing in attentive for SMS, times of day, different segments, same with Klaviyo. We find with SMS, she likes to get her text later in the day versus Klaviyo, you can send it at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then one app that we use is Instagram 360. I know it wasn't mentioned, but it allows the product just to be a little bit more relatable. And we find that our customer shops from that. It's loads onto our page. It's the third, or actually it's the first one underneath the product. And then it's able to connect to Klaviyo. So then we can, if we're sending an email out about a gold bikini, say, it'll pull, we can do all of our grid, our Instagram grid, plugged into the bottom of Klaviyo, allowing that email to look also a little bit more relatable than just our true marketing campaign.
Awesome. Well, there's a lot of great questions there. So I think from here, we'll create a list for everybody and we can share out all of the technologies and recommendations that the panelists have made today. Also, if you're still listening and this is really interesting to you, Gorgias is actually hosting a webinar tomorrow talking about Ultimate Tech Stack and great tools to use, where you hear a bunch of recommendations there as well. So highly recommend checking that out. I want to just thank everybody who on the panel, everybody who came to the audience, and all of our great partners for making today a great event. We really appreciate it. We're going to follow up with the recording from today, as well as a recap log and that list of tech stack. And again, thank you everybody. And thank you all of our panelists for joining us today.